Hey, what's good, everybody? Joey J. Ping here, checking in live, respectmyregion.com, back with another episode of the Respect My Region podcast. Today, a very spectacular, highly anticipated episode, New York edition, man. We got MFNY, we got the head of operations from MFNY, Ian Dyche, in the building. How we doing, Ian, man? Good morning, good afternoon. How we living?
I'm great, Joey. Thanks for having me on.
It is a pleasure to have you. We just had some internet difficulties. We're going to be recording this and streaming it later, everybody. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Tune back in, turn notifications on. And what I was just telling you, Ian, was how big of a fan I am of you guys because I've said for the last couple of years, I believe that New York is great at manufacturing. The flower will catch up. And I think that statement of great at manufacturing, when I think about who I'm really referring to, Ian, I'm thinking about you guys, I'm thinking about Heirloom. I'm thinking about other top tier brands that are phenomenal in New York. And one, you don't even know this, Ian, because I didn't get to say this, but we did this event with you guys and Trees probably almost a year or two ago in 24, and I was blessed to be able to try 13 different live resin dabs. I called it the MFNY challenge. I didn't do it back to back to back like in a row, like dying type of thing, but I really, because I had sold so much live resin previously, I really wanted to see the integrity of each strain that you guys had put out on that lineup. And in thinking about that night and thinking about being able to do that, as stupid and cheesy as it sounds, it is one of the coolest and happiest moments to have been doing what I normally could do in California over in New York City, experiencing top tier terps. And so, Ian, just without getting too crazy into it, I appreciate what you do as a fan of the brand. I appreciate the operations and all the different details and the entire team there. Hats off to all you guys. I am a fucking fan on the West Coast, and I love what y'all do. Now, with that said, Ian, how the heck did you become a part of MFNY? You had a Cali journey, you've got this West Coast experience, you get over there. Are you one of those New Yorkers that went to the West and then came back? Or what's your journey? What was that like?
Not originally a New Yorker, plenty of extended family from the area.
Mm-hmm.
I am from the East Coast.
Oh, cool.
And after college, I moved to the West Coast and I lived, most of my adult life there basically until like 2021
Go.
after, you know, um, did the whole thing, cannabis for a long time all the way through, all the stories or whatever. When it went legal, had my own thing and for a couple of years, and then I didn't, with what happened with the market out there. And so,
Bloodbath in
um,
those couple years.
yeah. So like, Cali was going through a tough point with the market and pricing, especially wholesale pricing. And so I decided to, just kind of get into consulting because, like, operations and, growing operations and processing operations have always been really kind of what I do,
Cool.
and I saw a lot of, like, opportunity in the market to kind of help a lot of companies, with that flow,
Yeah.
and so I was kind of like going around the country to different jobs and kind of at the same time simultaneously looking like for what my next thing would be, or like where it gave me like consulting gave me a while to kind of like sample a couple of different markets and just kind of and deep dive into it and see if it was a good place to operate because after California it was like I kind of got to pick and choose and make some good decisions about where we're going to be. And so in Cali, like I was mostly B2B wholesale, but like in the onset, I kind of started off down this live resin path. I thought, early on in the Cali market, it was just like, wow, there's a lot of product around. Like, what's everybody doing with it? What are we doing? And I always thought that like the flavor of a dab in a vape was ultimately the future. And I mean, even at this point, and I'm talking in like 2018, 2017, it wasn't all the way there yet. People
Oh,
were like experimenting with different techniques or whatever.
remember,
And like,
remember, Ian, you and I were around at the same time out here. Remember the liquid diamonds? The liquid
oh
diamond
yeah,
live resin. There was Buddies, then Jetty, then Jeter, then everybody, right?
just distillate, baby. That's all it is. But like back then, the lab that I was working with, we were doing a lot of fresh frozen. We won some awards. Won some emerald, like placed the Emerald Cup. Won some awards for like some of the material because the starting material is great. And these guys were trying to do like we were basically crashing diamonds and then collecting the terp fraction, putting that in carts, without decarbing or even adding liquid diamonds at that point. And so, like, that came with problems, but there was a lot of promise too. It was like, wow, this tastes, like the terp fraction in a Jupiter cart back then was like, it was next level. It was like
Yeah.
the THC wasn't even decarbed, and like the head change on it was so interesting to me. I was just like, hey, there's something to this, but like I said, the process at that point was not solid, and we tried to run it up and try to roll out like a brand, but like a bunch of material got kind of messed up to the point where it scared me so much, and I risked so much on it, and kind of deviated from the plan of the business originally, that I just went back. I was like, all right, I just went back to doing flour, wholesale flour, and just kind of did that for the rest of the time. But like, part of me was always really curious about it, and I just kind of always had an idea for like what a company could be, like an angle for a company, a model for a business, because like, in cannabis, so much after the commercialization, it's just like everybody's doing the same thing, everybody's like scaling up and is just producing a lot of flour. And it's like, if you really, I mean, we didn't know in the beginning that there was a limit on how much like consumption there was, but we know, like, it's like there's a finite amount. And
Yeah,
smoking,
it's Ian, there are only so many people in New York at one given time that are 21, and not everybody does consume cannabis that's 21 or older, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. So I'm getting a little, but I guess like with MFNY, right? Like, it was a consulting job for me, and
mm,
they were just coming out of the New York was just starting to roll out the program. They were going to grant licenses to the hemp farmers first, and so this whole facility was that before. It was a hemp cultivation along with like massive processing
oh wow.
capacity, right? And so like they were in the process of transitioning over to the THC license, or the rec cannabis license, whatever you want to call it. And so I came in at that point, and I was just kind of helping try to smooth some, like, some cultivation operations at first, right? But in my coming here over weeks and stuff like that, and kind of like I eventually got opportunity, and I thought it was right too, because I was like, all right, so I was like, New York's regulations, especially on the cultivation side, basically don't allow a lot of indoor growing, which I saw that from the onset, and I was like, well, I was like, flower is gonna be a problem, because even though I'm a mixed light, I mean, I've been doing mixed light, I've done every style, right? But like the last couple of years, I've been focusing on mixed light, because for certain reasons, I do think it is the future, right? But like the way everybody had thought it was just going to replace indoor flower, it was like, that's not necessarily the case, right? And so like you have this in New York, we had this situation where it's like there's not a lot of indoor licenses to be had, if any at all, right? You have to go basically either full sun or some version of like mixed light, is like what a lot of these hemp conversion licenses were, right? And so it's like, I know from growing high tech, mixed light, that like even on your best day, it's like the batches of flower are it's seasonal when they look the best, even in the most tricked out nice greenhouse. It's hard to get consistent looking flowers such that like a consumer would appreciate as much as, like, say, indoor, right? Um, and so New York kind of like wanted their operators to mainly cultivate in this manner, right? And so I was like, well, flower for this market is going to be a problem. I was like, but I didn't see it as a problem, because in New York, you have the most robust illicit flower economy, arguably in the world, right? You've got the best flower being sold on the corner of the street or in the
Yeah,
bodega.
still.
So it's
Yeah.
like, so in my mind, I'm like, why would people, number one, shop at a licensed dispensary in which you have to pay taxes and higher
It's like
prices?
going to a liquor store, but you can't actually buy like liquor. You could buy
Yeah,
beer and wine, but you can't buy liquor in that instance, right? Like the product that they're there for.
yeah. And so like in my comings and goings to New York for a number of months, I was always looking around for like, where was this, where was that? And I just didn't see a lot of. I saw good oil, I saw good rosin. It was high priced, it was hard to find. Like, it's not you definitely don't buy that at the bodegas. You definitely don't buy that off the guy at the street corner. It was, and so
Yeah.
like I saw this opportunity where it's like, if you're an oil smoker, you definitely care about compliance testing more than say most flower smokers do, right? Because it's important, because it's
Yeah.
concentrated material. So if it's dirty material, it's going to be extra dirty when it's concentrated. And so like I saw that as a reason why New Yorkers might choose to shop at a licensed dispensary and willingly pay more for products than they could get, say, down the street at the gas station or whatever. And so like,
1000%.
and so I kind of knew. So combined, like the mixed light combined with I mean, this place was like, it was like a dream. It was like from the hemp days, like they had done it up, and they had a full like amazing kitchen. They had C1D1 capacity, which is like
It's the
that's
extraction, right? That's BHO
yes,
extraction and
yes,
the
yeah,
other stuff
yeah.
like that.
So it's like explosive. Yes, it's a high level. Um, it's
Bomb
hard
proof,
to
but explosive and fireproof inside buildings.
explosion
Yeah.
proof, because like
Yeah.
at that time with hemp they were using ethanol, which is extremely flammable but not explosive. So we had to adjust some things in order to get the fire department to check us off for butane extraction. But I also, and then also at this time too, right? If you know what was going on, like BHO at this point had a really bad name from all the filtering and CRCN, and like consumers
Oh,
had just
Ian
been.
brought it up, man. You know what's crazy? I have some CRC live resin on me right now as a gift. As a gift.
I got to be honest, like in when it first started, right, in Cali, um, like
Lemons.
affording these chiller setups in which you need to get your gas down to temperature to make the oil come out of that right color. Like a lot of guys didn't have it. A lot of guys were just scaling up. They didn't have like the money to buy a $350,000 chiller, right? And so like the original filtering methodology was like, honestly, we like when it was first coming out, the guys I was working with, we won some awards with it because we were using good material. We were just like addressing the color problem. They weren't like
Yeah.
overdoing it. But at a certain point, people basically started running, crude into like these BHO products, and it just kind of
Yeah,
ruined.
people started going the opposite of what you said you did. They would cut all the corners and put the worst inputs in, color remediate it, and
Like
charcoal,
it
clay,
got
whatever.
abused, yeah, the technique
Yeah.
got abused, and
I'll
then the
tell you right now, as a sales rep, Ian, who started without CRC live resin, and then CRC became a thing, and we were late to switching to CRC. It fucked our business back then. I don't remember the hundred thousands or whatever, but I remember our dab business dropped for like our number one or two sales rep, like 40%.
yes. No,
It's
I mean, like
insane the damage.
the consumer felt duped because everything on the shelf looked like it was good oil, and then
Yeah.
it was one dimensional, and they were like, and if you're like an oil consumer, you're just like, this is bullshit.
Everything tastes the same. What is going on?
And at the same time, there's a big push with solventless rosin, right? And
Yeah.
and
That
the
was
good.
literally the turning point where it started to go, okay.
Yep.
Rosin.
Yeah, and so like, and for the consumers end, like they were right, because there's no faking good rosin. Like it's either good, use good starting material and do it right, or you don't, right? And so
Yeah.
like the consumer felt safe in getting those products. But like from an operational perspective, like if you've ever done any large scale like solventless, like I mean, and this might piss some people off, like, but some people might have some different to say, but like it's incredibly hard to make a living off of just running solventless oil. Like it's like
Yeah, the scale has to be there at some point. The
well, like
automation has to come in.
there's a lot of labor. There's a lot of labor associated with it. The yields are usually not great, not what like they are compared to BHO for
Yeah.
any instance, right?
The
But like,
percentages on terms of the yields are significantly different when we're
yeah,
running
yeah, yeah.
one way versus the other.
It's not as shelf stable. It's a lot of things, right? Like that make it difficult and make it the price that it is. It's hard to make, and
Yeah.
it's hard to make well, right? And so, not saying BHO isn't hard to make well too. You have to have the right infrastructure, but also I would say this, like I knew, like, even though consumer preference was way away from BHO at this point, I know that like some of the, like when you really do BHO right and you have the right rig and you can maintain certain temperatures, like with the oil and the starting material, like
Yeah.
it can come out as good, if not better than most rosin. And like I,
I think it's hard to compare. Obviously, the natural way is to compare them, Ian. And I wanna pivot away from a little bit of this into some of the actual brand and product stuff here in a moment. But I
yeah,
can't help it. I argue with people, customers, all the time here, or debate slash arguing, because you have all these rosin heads, and I come from the live resin, and what I know is scientifically, decarbing and heating up and pressing the rosin removes some of the cannabinoids. It's a
yes,
fact. It's a
yes.
fact. So
It's
when I
just
say
yeah, yeah. If you just look at the processes, it's not as like
the integrity of each strain is more in live resin and BHO than it is in rosin. I'm sorry, that's where I stand for whoever has a problem. And because of the science on the yield, you have a greater option for variety of inputs than the rosin guys have. They get whatever it gives them. You get
yeah.
to pick strains and then freeze them,
Well,
and
like I
things will
mean,
come from it.
yeah, yeah. So often, rosin is dictated by by size of trichome head, right? And so like in New York, a lot of consumers love like hazes and sativas and all sorts of stuff that does not
Mm-hmm.
wash. But in BHO, like you can still get a really nice acceptable
Yeah,
yield on those strains and give the customer base a wider option of like
offering.
what they can dab. That's it.
Absolutely. I'm with it, man. When I was over at my former employer that we were talking about from a couple years ago, man, I had 11 pages of product. We had 23 strains of live resin, man. It was great. We were moving carts and selling dabs and live resin capsules. I love
Yeah.
it, and this is why I love your guys' brand so much. Is I was so proud of working for that company and so proud of the products and how the impact we would have on people's lives. And I think about MFNY and the impact you're able to have on people's lives. This next section, though, I got to shout out our sponsor, Pre-Roller. These guys are our automated filling pre-roll solutions partner, right? These are our sponsor for our podcast network, Ian. And I think about your guys' infused pre-rolls and how fire those ones are, right?
Yeah.
And you guys have the genetics both on the flower and the live resin listed. Like, it's like the best version of branding and packaging, and it smacks and it tastes good. The curation, the crafting of these items are so phenomenal. That's why
It's
I
all
said
about
earlier,
it's all about transparency, man. We just
oh
want to
my
be
gosh, I love it.
we want to be truthful to the consumer, like and so we just try to do the best we can and let them know what they're getting into. And I feel like that's, I've been in the cannabis thing for a long time, and I feel like more and more it's just getting more and more deceptive towards, and so like we just
You
trying to
guys educated,
yeah.
I don't know how many stores are in, but just by putting the strains on there, because the bud tenders only have so much time to say what they do. They can only afford what they buy. They try what they like. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M, N, O, P. You guys doing that, educated so many people naturally. And that allows someone to come in back to a store and say, hey, I tried this. It says this. I liked that. I felt like this. That is all part of it from a customer standpoint, from a learning, I'm a medical card holding patient still.
Yeah.
That shit matters so much. And 99% of brands, 99 brands out of 100 don't care, don't think about it, didn't design that way. The excuses maybe they couldn't, that are super small. But I'm just so thankful that you guys chose to do that as one of the biggest purveyors of cannabis in New York.
No, we
Because
we have we have a couple pretty like solid pillars and standards that we stand on as a company that makes us, what we are. And it hasn't always been the easiest or even the most profitable way, at least in the beginning, right? But like it laid the groundwork for the trust that the community has when they go to pick any of our products up from any of the stores in the state.
I don't have to rely on a bud tender to make the recommendation for me. I can straight up look at this and recognize a strain, the strain of live resin, the crosses maybe, or the flower one. And I think that is so huge in this era of cannabis that we're in, this era that New York is in, these chapters that we're flipping through day by day, right? I think it's really important. Now, Ian, MFNY, when I look at it and it's like, damn, bro, that's like a Nike of New York. That's like a Nike brand. That's like a Reebok. Like that's like a name brand for cannabis in New York. To me, that's where I perceive it as. If there was a lot of weed brands in the past have been like, oh, I want my brand to feel or sound like this, or we were kind of like building our brand around this. Was there something that MFNY was like? Is there a normal brand in the regular world that MFNY quality at, or like how we operate, like how we think? Is there a similarity between you guys and anything?
Yeah, I mean, listen, dude. Like, I could list off a couple.
The first one that comes to mind for you if you really had to think about the way that you guys hold yourselves?
I mean, you look at someone like, it's slightly different model, right? But like along the same breath, like a 710.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I used to work with those guys in Cali a little bit, when their brand was becoming such that they were looking to expand their input material in order to capture all of the available space they could capture on the shelves. And there was
Yeah.
like, it was kind of for them, being single source to that point. I could see like that kind of, but we actually, MFNY is still single source. We don't have any partner farms.
I was just gonna
Everything.
ask because I don't know anything about the supply chain. I'm also not there. I'm not getting meetings with brand ambassadors. I'm not talking with people. I don't know your sales reps, right? I did meet a wonderful woman that was, I can literally picture her face right now. She was a BA with you guys for a number of years or sales or something, but she was one of the most phenomenal people, most passionate individuals that I had met in New York. And don't know much about the supply chain. So walk me through what these products are crafted with. What can a customer like me? I fly in there, JFK. I go to a dispensary. They all carry you guys, everybody. So
Yeah.
it's like, what are those made with?
Well, I
Let's start
mean,
with the joint pre rolls because I'm smoking one.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, like all of our pre-roll flour is from our we do both full sun crops out here and a lot of mixed light, right?
Okay,
Um we like different material that's grown differently is allocated towards different products, right? So like
makes sense.
every bit of flour that's in our pre-rolls, in our infused pre-rolls was grown in our mixed light greenhouses, right? And we actually only take, like I was talking about a little bit earlier, like we take flour seasonally. It's not taken all year round because of climate restrictions here, right? So like there's a window of time of the year where you're just like, yeah, it's flower season for us, and it's coming out and the colors are popping and
I
everything.
bet it's beautiful there when that's
It's
happening.
usually in the colder months, when we can control temperature better. When the temperature gets, when it gets hotter and humid, it's harder to get the effects that you need to get in order to call things flower, right? And
Not
that's,
what I was expecting. I was expecting the flip flop on the seasons.
yeah, no,
I was
no.
thinking growing when it's nice out.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you were outdoors, right, that would be what. But like, when you control the environment and you've
Yeah.
got heaters and you got some lights and stuff like that, like,
Are
you
these
can.
like those new era sliding topper ones, greenhouses, or are we
No,
talking
no,
like,
no, no, no. We like all of the, we're on a 38-acre farm property here, right? And it was a converted before they were growing leafy greens here prior to
wow?
MFNY or even the earlier,
What
iterations of
what town?
MFNY.
It sounds like you guys are out in the middle of the cut somewhere.
Yeah,
What town are
no,
we?
it's town's called New Windsor, and it's in the Hudson Valley, which is about 50 miles north of the city.
Oh wow,
Where
okay.
yeah, so we're in the southern part of the state. So like we have a completely different climate than say if you drove 2 hours north of here. Like they have a completely different climate and light intensity and stuff. So like like geographically, I would say in New York we lucked out with where we are. Being this close to the Hudson River, it's like there's a lot of benefits from the environment here that we definitely
Do
use.
you
But
guys get to use because you guys are like in this valley and river area and stuff? Are you guys like able to use some of the natural like environmental, so to speak, in your process? Is that a thing?
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, the air is really clean because we're so close to a body of water. It's like
Cool.
there's the air itself is like not
These
dusty or
plants are
dirty.
breathing. They're not breathing
Yeah, yeah,
smoggy,
yeah, yeah. All of our water on our property comes from deep bedrock wells on the property, right? So we're
This
not
is
like.
cool.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, as far as like growing in the native soil, we don't necessarily do that. And the main reason we don't do that is it's a control factor because like being as though we 95% of what we make are concentrated products, right? Like it's been my experience that even healthy soil can have, you know, out of okay, out of you know, micro metals that are like outside the limits of what New York allows for finished
Yeah.
products.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, because you've been in both states, so hopefully memory is able to still service here, because you would be the expert, not me. But I believe the different states have different ppms or metals and these different requirements, right? And like
Yeah,
Catalyst here tests for extra stuff beyond the state, for
yeah,
example,
I know they do. I
right?
know,
But
and,
like,
and,
but I
and they should.
believe New York is harder. I believe it's more strict in New York than it is in California. Is that not correct?
It, it seems
Similar?
similar. It seems similar, but I'd have to go back. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, we get down to like parts per
yeah.
billion and stuff. It's hard
Either
to.
way, I mean, the reality is that some of these micro metals that they test for, like, are actually parts of the plant's nutrition, right? And so, like, you do need it. Like, if you're growing in soil, like, it needs to be there. It's part of like what makes the soil healthy. Unfortunately, like, the plant is like, it just picks up whatever it can out of the ground, and you don't have control over that, right? And so, if you go to take oil from that plant and you concentrate it, there's a chance you're going to fail from micrometals. So because of
Yeah,
that,
then at that point you just grew and did the time, labor, and all the operations to get there, and it's like, well, fuck, we can't even use it.
yeah, so like I use inert medium. It's organic. It's coconut. A lot of growers use cocoa, um, and then I water in all my nutrition, right? And I use high quality. I make my own fertilizer, so like I use really high quality inputs and minerals. Um, it's just like I know, like I've never failed a test for micrometals here in New York. Like that has just
Yeah.
never been a worry of mine. It's just one less thing that I have to worry about. And so, and then like, you get some debate, like is soil versus essentially hydroponic growing, and like
I've had great weed in all of them, all literally every way.
it's about pushing the plant's vigor and making the plant letting it develop into the healthiest version of whatever it's going to be, and that's just like that's what makes great oil, so like every award that we've won, everything, like it's all been grown the same way, and like I said, we run so many batches, and our batch is so big, we cannot take the risk of like potentially failing because our soil is too healthy or whatever, or the plant decided to pick up more cadmium than it needed to, or whatever the case may be. It's just one less thing that I have to worry about.
Now, Ian, I only got you for like 5 to 6 more minutes for the sake of time. I got another guest here in about 20, so I want to make sure I give respect to getting some more of the story out for you guys. We're
Yeah,
gonna do a little bit more rapid fire here. You ready?
I'm ready, dude.
What is the quick, basic story of MFNY? Where did it come from? New Windsor? Who are the people? Because no disrespect to you, you're one of the consultants that joined. Now you're a head of operations, helping run the whole ship and everything. You're a big captain there.
Yeah.
Who are the people? Who? What's the
No,
story with MFNY?
it's a family owned business.
Cool.
We're not some big corporation. Family owned. Friends and family investors and all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of stuff. The folks that own it are extremely passionate people. They were cannabis consumers, like longtime cannabis consumers. They've done some amazing real estate stuff, and they wanted the best. They wanted to be like known, as a lot of people that enter into cannabis. They want to have the best product, right? And so, um, you know, I think a lot of people's experience on the East Coast like hadn't necessarily caught up when I'm talking about carts or what and oil in
Yeah.
general. And so like it was kind of a great marriage, because like to do all this it takes a crazy leap of faith, and if you're modeling businesses, like it's to do it the other way that most everybody does, it's inherently cheaper, but like they really believe in the product, and they're really passionate about it, and they believe it to be the future just like I do,
Yeah.
and so
We
that's
all
it.
thought live resin was the future, and right now we're in the future from when we first started thinking that way, and it's still a main. It was not going anywhere. Absolutely not.
It's only getting better, and like
Yeah.
the delivery mechanisms are only getting better and more
Yeah.
convenient, and that's really it, is like we leaned in on how to really make our oil the way it is, the consistency of it, and to handle huge loads of we all these products you try, like it's coming off biomass loads that are thousands of pounds, right? And so
30 plus
in,
acre
in
growers. Yeah.
order to like keep that consistency and keep that, like we basically just make that oil that way, and then we deploy it into all these wonderful products that
Yeah.
we make. you know, but that is the basis of what we do, is how we make this oil, and then how it's deployed. That's really
Thank
it.
you for segueing perfectly into my next section, products. Hit me with your guys' product variety that you guys have. I'm obviously aware of what
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
call the
yeah. No,
hero
so like
products.
the newest the newest thing that we're rolling out, like you know, you can tell like I've been doing this for a long time. So I'm an old strain collector. I've got a, you know, a library of old genetics, and I'm always hunting for new stuff, right? And like through advanced techniques with, you know, propagation, whatever, we've been able to bring back some of these, for, you know, these strains from yesteryear into this line that we're calling the classics, MFNY classics. And so we're basically going to be rolling out old school nostalgic terpene profiles that a lot of consumers, you know, especially, you know, our older consumers, our more experienced consumers, are going to recognize, because like there's been a lot of people asking for it. And so it's like these old school flavors that typically back then were only available in flower, and now we've got them available in all of the delivery mechanisms and the wonderful products that we make at MFNY. So like it's kind of like a, you know, old but new kind of way of experiencing some of this stuff, you know. Like you know, first up obviously was the sour diesel. You know, we
I
had to
was just
do
gonna
it
say,
in New York. You know, we got a beautiful cut, and it really is, I mean, like when I tried the batter for the first time, it was like stepping out of a time machine like 15 years before, man. It's next level. And so,
Ian,
and
before
we,
you skip to any other strains, I need you to speak directly to the audience and those naysayers that say, "Oh, is that really sour diesel?"
It's the one that I know is sour diesel. You know, I've got a unique perspective. Like, you know, consumers in New York are very, you know, opinionated about it, rightfully so. You know, at that time when sour was popping, I was spending a lot of time. I was in the Emerald Triangle. I was rounding up a lot of loads. I've seen a lot of sour growing at scale, and like most of what I saw, even though we don't call it like the, you know, by the exact cut name that it's called right now, like back then it was just, you're just growing sour, right? Like it all looked and smelled and smoked like the one that we have, you know, and every bit of that from the Triangle back then was headed over here to New York. And so,
Absolutely.
like I feel like it's the one. I know there's other varieties, and I know other people did it, but what was grown in mass mostly, and what most people like for sure smoked, was this one that we have, you know.
The classic sour cheminess, man. What a classic in the diesel world. Now these other strains, I am interested. Classics. When there's like the classics I have in mind. I'm a 2016 bud tender. I was a medical patient Seattle 12, 13, 14, 15. So I have these classics that I'm thinking, but that's based on my region there. What classics are we delivering the rest of the way
Yeah, I
here
mean, like
at
I didn't
FNY?
necessarily put like a time frame limit on it. I feel like it's like anything that's had like an era, right? And like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the
I was just
last two,
sharing my era. That's my
yeah.
era of like my classics because that's when I started getting heavy into the weed, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's most people, right? And so, like anything that had an era, like in the last 2 decades, like we're you know, we have plans for it. So it's like we're starting with the
Sick.
sour. You know, you're for sure gonna see some Chem D. You're for sure gonna see some cherry pie. You're for sure gonna see some UK cheese. You're for sure gonna see some AK-47. You're gonna,
I
you
mean,
know, and like the
you
list
guys
goes
were already
on.
using cherry pies in there. I vividly have like a memory. I've seen cherry pie live resin pop up, and I think like the breaths, a couple of the breaths pop into your guys' gummies when
Oh
I've
yeah,
had those before. This
oh
is
yeah,
it
man.
sounds, and even the breaths have their own era in this. I don't know that they've had true classicness, but like they're because they're more recent. But it's so cool to just see these different strains start to become and build part of the community, right? Because like
But
there's
yeah, I
like a
mean, like
passion
I've been
for each
around
of them.
enough where like I love like doing what I do at MFNY, because it puts me like different from the West Coast. It puts me really close to the consumer, right? And so like I get to talk to a lot of people about what they actually want, not what the wholesaler wants, you know, like what people actually want. And like, man, so many people like were like, yo, where's this? Where's that? Where's this? And I was like, I mean, like we got some of these people, like we got this stuff just sitting, like, you know. And some of it's old, you know, some of it, like I would say, you know, tissue propagation has been like helpful in reviving some of these genetics. Not every
Shout out
single
tissue
one.
culture, tissue props. Shout out all those breeders. Shout out everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shout out
No,
all you guys who really care about the science, Ian. I think that's a commitment clearly that you guys like plant nutrition. I kind of was reading between the lines, like you were talking about plant vigor. Like it starts with you have to be like tissue culturing things. We're talking about scale. You know what I mean? Like we have to have consistency here operationally. Like, and there's one that's like the only thing I associate with your brand is like consistency, man. Like that's what's so cool when I think about from the pre-rolls. I've smoked 10 to 20 pre-rolls from you guys at the events that I've been to. The gummies, that's my favorite gummy brand there. The the dabs. I was able to taste 13 dabs in an evening without being over consumed. No lie, drinking water the whole time, eating throughout the evening,
No
and
judgment.
just and I said this earlier, the integrity of each strain was really what I was searching for. Because when you've sold millions of dollars worth of live resin, well, I do get to sit here and try it and try to make a not a judgment, but an opinion on it. And it was phenomenal in the 2 years ago when I was able 2024 when I was able to do that 13 dab challenge there in New York with that wonderful brand ambassador from you guys. And in the last 2 years when I visited New York, to see your guys' growth and expansion and to see these dispensaries champion you guys on these podcasts. And when I visited, I just have to say again, big respect to your team, big respect to your work and to everything that the owners and everybody represents and stands for there. Before we get to go, I got one more question. What do you guys have coming down the road? Right now, today, we're 2 months from 420. What does this next few months look like for you guys? And what can your retail partners possibly expect product wise from y'all?
Yeah. More classic drops, more continued drops of our normal line. If you know anything about us, like we run a lot of strains, and like some of them are seasonal, and so like I've got some seasonal stuff that's been off the menu for quite a while that some folks are gonna be happy to see come back. You're gonna see the straw pie coming back, the grape guava. You're gonna see a lot more of that super lemon haze that we just dropped. Yeah, I
Dunking
mean,
on them. Let's
and and
go.
and, and then we got some special stuff planned for the classics for 420 for 710. We've got it all mapped out, and we're just this year we're really gonna try to drop a lot of new stuff, different stuff. Just keep it fun, keep it interesting, and keep people excited, man. We appreciate the support, and exactly what you were saying earlier is exactly what we want to be. We want to be known for consistency and transparency, and just trying to and we want to just serve as like more than anything is that we were not a small operation. We're a commercial operation, and in cannabis in general, like I think there's definitely a divide between like people's perception of like if it's at scale, then it's mids, and like our whole thing is to kind of like dispel that rumor that you can be at scale and that you can still keep all your profiles intact. You can do things the right way if you're strategic, if you're innovative, and you can keep consumers interested and arguably create more.
Before we go, folks, I always like to say like, follow, subscribe. Usually that's about our channel, but today it's about their channel and their channel only. They have great YouTube content. And actually, that brand ambassador woman I was talking about, she's on the YouTube. She's in the shorts. So go experience the same energy that won me over into MFNY, literally on video. I see Ian here and a number of other teammates. You can learn about rosin versus resin. A part of that conversation's there. Why we breed bugs to protect your weed. Like to learn about cannabis is to appreciate it more when you understand it more, folks. And so definitely pop on to their YouTube channel. I'll read it to you. It's at MFNY underscore CO. You can literally also Google MFNY YouTube. That's what I did to pop it up. And then their website as well, folks. If you guys want to learn more about their cultivars or learn about their different products, that's going to be mfny.co.com. And since we didn't say it, I'm going to let you all know now. MFNY motherfucking stands for Marijuana Farms New York. And that's what this shit's all about. You know what I'm saying? I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Ian, this was a dope episode. I got to learn about one of my favorite brands in New York. And it gives me chills thinking about like where you guys are going to go and how inspiring this all is and to hear about your journey. So big respect to everybody on that freaking squad, man. And I look forward to
Much
my next
appreciated, Joey. Thanks for having me on. I
We'll
love the
see y'all on the
experience.
next episode. Big shout out to our sponsor, Pre-Roller Automated Filling Solutions, preroll-er.com. I love y'all. We'll catch you next time. Peace.